Today is Monday, the 1st of December 2025, and this is papertrail.com, a daily streaming all about governance, risk, and compliance in the UK for SME and mid-markets. Last week, we spoke about closing the loop from risk management, treatments, and incident reporting, right? So it's incident reporting and risk management is a kind of a loop. And this week, we will discuss evidence collection and the compliance bottleneck headaches for the UK SMEs and mid-market firms, because in that loop in between risk management and incident and registry of incidents is the evidence collection, and probably one of the hardest thing to do, even if it sounds easy. So the topic this week, today particularly, is the hidden factors that determine whether your compliance success or fails. And don't worry about acronyms. They are going to be explained all during the streaming. And by the way, this is not a complete guide, neither legal advice. Always look for specialists and professionals in the areas you need them, although I'll focus on reviewing three main problems today. So as usual, we are going to set the scenario. We are starting the whole week, and I'm going to treat this week on the subject that every SME and mid-market firm wrestles. And this is evidence, because here's a fact: policies don't pass the audit. You might have all your policies all very well structured and put in binders and folders, etc., and everybody complies, but that doesn't pass the audit. The controls don't pass the audit either. It's just the evidence that passes controls, right? So this is the piece most teams struggle with, and it's why evidence sits at the heart of every compliance outcome, right? So three problems, and I'm going to address in three frameworks in the UK out of the 16 that any company had to be compliant with if you're in scope. So problem number one is the UK regulators expect verifiable records, not assurances. The Information Commissioner's Office, the accountability framework, requires demonstrable evidence, governance, training, reviews, and decisions. Problem number two, the health and safety executive expects employers to prove risk controls that they are in place and they are not simply claim they exist. And problem number three is the Financial Conduct Authority. The Consumer Duty requires documented outcomes and monitoring. And stated intentions, again, it doesn't meet the rule. They don't meet it. So how we can picture this in a simple metaphor? Think of compliance like filing a tax return. Well, it hurts, but you can say anything you want in a tax return, by the way, but HMRC only cares about the receipts. So if you don't have the receipts, probably whatever you said won't be sustained and you might be in trouble. So here are 3 points to consider whether your compliance succeeds or fails. And number one is start with a clear evidence standard. What must be proven, at what cadence, who owns it, and where it lives. And lives, I mean where it is stored. Align this with the UK regulator guidance, for example, the Information Commissioner's Office evidence categories like the policies, logs, decisions, and reviews. And the key word that you have to bear in mind here in this solution is cadence. We spoke for the past few weeks about cadence, which is in the frequency that things happen. So some things require, for example, incidents with health and safety have to be reported immediately or registered immediately or remediated immediately. Others might require a monthly review, for example, GDPR. And others will require 3 months period between the next review or update, others mid-year and others at the end of the year. And this week on Thursday, I'm going to put a carousel here in LinkedIn where you're going to see all these things, particularly for manufacturing. And solution number two, build an evidence inventory mapped to real obligations, not just the frameworks in isolation. So one obligation may satisfy 5 different frameworks, but only if you mapped once and reuse them. So you have an obligation, and control, and evidence, and these can be mapped to different frameworks. And solution number 3, avoid this trap, reactive behavior. Many firms wait for audit season and scramble, because patterns patterns from UK regulatory enforcements show that late evidence gathering increase errors, duplications, and the risk of no compliance. So as you can see, there are several treatments and solutions, but they are not simple. They are quite complicated, particularly for SMEs and mid-market companies where there are no dedicated teams, officials, or personnel within the company to run these compliance requirements. And as I mentioned, we are mentioning 3 here out of 16 frameworks required for any UK company if you are in scope. And in scope, it means actually you hit the criteria or the thresholds. So you have health and safety, fire standards, PCR, DVCA for fleet management, GDPR, cybersecurity, and so on and so forth. So no wonder 73% of UK companies outsource and hire consultants, advisors, or delegate to contractors. And when you're saying delegate to contractors is, for example, your law firm, your accounting firm is a delegated contractor, but is under a letter of engagement where they establish what are the T's and C's or terms and conditions. And by the way, always they say they act on behalf of the evidence that you provide. So you have to read that small print. Now, as I always mention in these live streams, that you and your company should have a baseline, or at least a baseline in mind, and a baseline in meaning criteria, so you can hire all your consultants, advisors, and contractors on your own terms. Right? So you can say, this is what I'm looking for, what you can provide to me. And 3 suggestions when outsourcing, particularly when you want to make sure your compliance succeeds and not fail, particularly in the evidence portion, on the evidence collection portion. Number 1 is, what is the outcomes that they produce? Do they create your evidence structure automatically, or at least have some structures where the obligations, owners, cadences, and attachment mapped once across all the frameworks, reducing that duplicated effort by a big percentage of your time? Number 2, what differentiator they provide to you? Do you get a single model, not a scattered folders, right? So you don't want many spreadsheets mapped to different frameworks. You want a single model. So evidence attached once to a pillar or theme and satisfies every mapped required. And we are going to talk about pillars and themes in other live streams in the coming weeks. And number 3, how they help you to reduce risk. Do they remove the audit day panic? Live dashboards that shows gaps, overdue items, and residual risk, giving you predictable low stress reviews. But if the pre-audit panic cannot be removed because it's a stressful situation, at least are you happy that there will be no panic mode anywhere to be seen during the audits, because everything is controlled and evidence is readily available according to the framework's requirements. So one action that you can take today to test all this is pick one framework you rely on and list every piece of evidence it requires. And here is a trick. Can you spot the gaps instantly in less than 10 minutes? If not, you will probably need to consider a better solution, and a faster one, a more reliable one, and an easier one. And here's where we develop PaperTrail, our software. You get your unified evidence model built for you, tailored to your business and compliant with all mandatory UK frameworks, and all of them ready to demonstrate risk and evidence. Remember, evidence is a most defensible position that you can have against or in front of any audit requirements, notifications, or attempt of reprimand. Anyway, so you can stop activities that increase workload but add no value, increase your costs and labor hours and expenses in just redundant work. And this is perfect for UK's and SME market firms, because you use the same control library that we were mentioning so far for health and safety, GDPR, DVCA, Cyber Essentials, CPR, PCR. So no double entry. So it's reducing your overlap by 60% and your costs by 80%. It's all in one place. It's a continuous gap analysis, and it's a clear view of what's done, what is missing, and who owns the fix before any assurance inspection report or audits hits you. And who owns the fix means who is responsible, who is accountable, and map out to that person. So you can do it once, you can do it properly, and then move on to the things that are more interesting to you. That is, grow your company or your department or your position and be more profitable. So join the waitlist, papertrail.com, and stay tuned, because tomorrow I will show you why evidence collection becomes the bottleneck, even for the well-run teams, right? So have a great